Welcome, everybody, to the
X Factor podcast.
I'm your fearless leader. Actually, I'm your stressed out and anxiety induced leader. Our fearless leader is over there, and his name is
Jon Rennie.
JonSRennie.com. Go there and subscribe to his newsletter. You won't be disappointed.
How are you,
about
Coach
that?
Brew?
I'm good.
Perfect. I'm good too.
This is episode 16, Parker.
Yes. 16. Outstanding.
You know how I know that, folks? During our pre-production meeting, our show producer, the DFE down there, if you're looking on YouTube, actually finally tells me the freaking episode number before we hit record. How about that? The kid is earning his keep, John. He's
Absolutely.
He's hitting his stride. He's got some reps.
Yeah, he's got some reps.
What that tells me is I think that we will now see the meteoric rise of our podcast.
Here it goes.
Because the DFE, our show producer, is hitting his stride. If
Absolutely.
I were other podcast producers, I'd be very nervous right about now.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Because he's all gas, no brakes.
Joe Rogan, here we come. We're coming after you. You got young Jamie. We got young Parker. There's no
young Jamie. Do you hear that? Do you hear footsteps? Yeah, that's Parker.
That's Parker coming for the job.
Tailgating you. About to pass you. He's drafting you. Conserving energy. He's going to blow right by you.
About to off the top the rope you.
You were warned. Don't say we didn't warn you.
I'm jumping Rogan. Off the ladder.
Yeah.
Straight off the top rope.
Come on.
You know the people's elbow?
Yeah.
He doesn't have the people's elbow.
No.
He is the DFE's forearm.
I like it.
He just like will clothesline you. He uses it like a club and just whips it around. It's that arm. Show him your guns, Parker. Show the listeners, the people watching on YouTube, your guns.
Nothing.
Come on, let's do it.
Yeah, that forearm is illegal. It's illegal in 16 states.
Yeah, I can't show it.
There's certain borders he's not allowed to cross over into. I think Kentucky, the Appalachia part of West Virginia, you're not allowed in. Where else? Florida man.
Yeah, Disney.
Florida man wishes he were as crazy as DFE. So we're going to give him a big ego now. We got to change the subject. So I do need to shift gears. We're joking around a little.
Yeah.
I need to shift gears. I've got a major announcement I need to make.
Let's hear it.
And I'm not kidding about this. I think that I've been wrong. For 16 weeks. That's like 4 months almost.
It almost is, yeah.
It's not quite 17 weeks. It's a little more than 15, if I'm not mistaken.
100%.
I've been wrong about something.
And I have
our show, we have certain rules.
Yes.
And all right, the mic's coming off of the stand here.
We're about to get some religion. Here it comes.
We have certain rules on this show, right? We have levels of listenership, P1, P2, P3, preset 1, preset 2, preset 3. You want to be a P1. That's one of the rules. We want you to ascend up the hierarchy of listenership. Another rule we have is Parker's not allowed to speak unless spoken to. I'm just kidding, Parker. The DFE is free reign of the show. The other rule is no free shout outs.
No free shout outs.
Yeah. So we do have show sponsors. And we do not shout out other things for free unless there are other things. My merch, chinupchestout.com. Shout out to the sweatshirt, the hat I'm wearing, the sign behind me. Jon Rennie's books. I have the watch. And all in the same boatbook.com. Our newsletters. The different
BeyondStadiumStatus.com?
Yes, the different product offerings in our respective product suites. And I think that given the fact that we are existing in I'll use the term unprecedented times, even though I hate it. And there are so many small businesses that were fragile before the pandemic and are really hanging on by a very thin thread, or maybe are on life support right now, that we can break my no free shout out rule. And what I want to extend to small business owners, self-employed individuals with a product or service made in America, um, family businesses, and it doesn't matter if you're local to where John, Parker, or I live, or you're a national company, it doesn't matter. You're an American who's self-employed and has a small business that has been hurt by the pandemic. It could be a restaurant that's been hurt by the no indoor dining thing. It could be someone's production line that has been hurt by social distancing, and you had to invest a ton in infrastructure and logistics and spacing people out at their workstations even further, and plastic screens and things, whatever it is. Share your story with us. You can email the show, and we're going to curate these stories. We're going to do you'll be vetted a little bit. We're going to do our due diligence, and we're going to give some shout outs, and we're going to feature some of these businesses because it's something we can do to help. And each of us are small business owners, and we're the little guys,
We are.
just like everyone else. And I'd be lying if I told you my business hasn't been adversely impacted by the pandemic. My business model is a lot like a musician. I tour, I do book tours, speaking tours, and that tends to be my best lead generation. Helps me sell books, sell merch, get coaching clients, and the inability to tour is really put a damper on that. So I feel for where everyone's coming from with this, regardless of the industry you're in. Parker, the show email address again, please, where people can write in and share their story.
Yes. So if you want to send in anything, it's the X Factor podcast at gmail.com. The X Factor podcast at gmail.com.
Perfect. And I have one business that I would like to give a shout out to right now. But first, John, the show itself is brought to you by who?
So
Our friends where?
our friends at Bottom Gun Coffee, the Bottom Gun Coffee, bottomguncoffee.com. They're a coffee company. It's veteran owned and operated here in the United States. And it's operated by submarine veterans. So that's where the term bottom gun comes from. That's sort of a nickname in the submarine community. We are not the fancy guys flying around in fighter jets. We were the guys under the ocean, guys and gals now, under the ocean, keeping our country safe. Bottom Gun Coffee. It's what I drink every day. Love the stuff, and I love the people at Bottom Gun. Great company, small company, and again, go there and support them, and because they support the show.
And they're small business owners. Walmart, Scamazon, they don't need to get any richer off of everyone's backs. They're doing just fine through this pandemic. Others aren't. So if you can buy local, if you see something for sale, like one of John's books or one of my books is for sale on Amazon, don't buy it there. Buy it on our website. Right? The royalties are better. The margins are better.
Absolutely. And the other thing is that we're connected at that point. So we know, you know me, I know you, and we have a personal connection. Plus you can't get a signed, for at least in my case, you can't get a signed copy of my book unless you come to my website, jonsrennie.com. So you can buy it on Amazon if you want, but you get a better experience if you come through me.
Imagine how much that signed copy will be worth, folks, when John's dead. The book costs how much?
$12.99. It's $12.99.
Okay, so it's $12.99. A signed copy while he's alive is probably worth a good solid $13.
Maybe,
right?
On a good day.
After he's dead, that might jump up to a 20 spot.
See that?
Yeah.
It's better than Bitcoin.
Yeah. At this point, anything's better than Bitcoin. So what I did want to highlight, and this is our first business that the X Factor podcast is giving a shout out to.
A free shout out.
Free shout out. Yeah.
Free shout out.
Listen, this isn't First of all, understand this, everyone, and everyone considering writing in on someone's behalf, on your own behalf. This isn't like, this isn't charity. We're not doing this because we feel sorry for you. We're doing this because it's Americans helping other Americans. It's small business owners, which John and I are,
Yep.
who want to support other small business owners.
Yep.
And that's what I always do anyway. I try not to shop at big box anywhere. I go to my local hardware store when I need another screwdriver, a box of deck nails, or whatever. I shop at, we dine at local restaurants, not at big chains. So this is not charity. This is us simply helping spotlight others who, during this time, could use the support. And with that in mind, what sort of inspired me to do this is there is a chef that I'm friends with on social media. Shout out, Chef Andrew Gruel. I hope I didn't butcher the pronunciation of your last name. He is originally from New England, went to college right up the road at Bates College here in Maine, and in Slapfish Grill out in California near Los Angeles, and owns a pizza place out there. He had jumped through every hoop that their brilliant governor, Gavin Newsom, has asked restaurateurs to jump through with regard to indoor dining, social distancing, outdoor dining, takeout, all of that. And their indoor dining got shut down completely. And, he's impacted by that personally, he and his family. But instead of just worrying about himself, he created a fund to help others in the restaurant industry, servers, wait staff, bartenders, small restaurants. And he's raised over $1 million with this fund. And I was inspired by what he's doing. And I saw him retweet a young lady named Alexis Wheeler. And Alexis is a college student who is trying to help her mother and grandmother, who own a spaghetti sauce company. Small family business. It's Mimi's Gourmet Pasta Sauce. Today it's being brought to you by, I'll let you answer.
Mimi's Gourmet Pasta Sauce.
Thank you. And that is available where, Alexis?
It is available on Etsy and stores up north.
And you can go to mimisgourmetpastasauce.com. We're going to talk to Alexis Wheeler and Kelly West, 2/3 of Mimi's Gourmet Pasta Sauce, about what they're doing and how the pandemic has impacted them. If you want the really short version of what I want you to do as you're listening to this podcast and you just decide you don't have time to continue to listen, I want you to just go to bru.news/Mimi and buy some of their pasta sauce now. Kelly, tell us a little bit of the background story of the genesis of Mimi's Gourmet Pasta Sauce, and then we'll dive into sort of what the last 11 months have been like for you guys.
Okay, my mom always made fantastic sauce. And my husband came over, my ex-husband, and he tried it at my mom's house, and he said, "Oh my God, this is so good." And I said, "I know, it's great, isn't it?" My mom, makes it. And I guess he went and told his mom. She called me one of the recipe. But the very next day, because I always buy Women's World, there was an article in there, how to be a food entrepreneur. So I contacted SCORE because I thought, I'll just market my mom's sauce. And when I was about to go to the meeting, I said, "Hey, Mom, I need that recipe." She goes, "What recipe?" I just take a jar and add to it. And I said, "Oh my God, what am I going to do? I'm, going to meet these guys." And so I kept on meeting them. They said things that were over my head. And I just started experimenting with sauce and spices. And I came up with something that I thought was fabulous. But I did try to find a co-packer. And it took a while. It seems like I had to sue one because she scammed me out of money.
Wow.
And then I finally found one out of Indianapolis, and I used him for 2 years. And then I was luckily able to use one here locally in Evansville. Actually, I went to him first, and he kind of laughed, and he said, "You need to do your homework. I'll tell you what, I'm going to send you to this guy that's over food and science at Purdue University." So I said, okay. So we went up there, we took some classes, and
This is what year?
This was in 2007.
Okay.
So I took those classes, and then I tried to find a co-packer somewhere else. And then I did find one in Indianapolis. That didn't work out. For 2 years we used them, and then luckily I was able to use that co-packer that first helped me, because they're just really big. I don't think they wanted to mess with me at first.
Yeah, that's the challenge, isn't it? It's a lot of, when you start a business, it's a lot of trial and error. And, sometimes the only, vendor you can get isn't necessarily the vendor you want. And so much entrepreneurship's experiment, so you spend a couple of years experimenting, finding the right people to partner with. And then what happened once you kind of got rolling with that?
Well, my first store was Schnucks. I just happened to go in there, and I talked to the manager, and a month later I was in Schnucks grocery store locally. And I was in the paper, so that helped, and it just started selling and selling. So I just started getting into all these stores, and it was amazing. I thought, oh my God, this is great. This is so easy to get in these grocery stores, but it wasn't, down the line, it wasn't. It was really hard. So everything I have done, I've done on my own.
Yep.
I have had no help whatsoever. I used to own a cookie route, so I was the distributor. Now I use 3 distributors. I'm in Schnucks warehouse, so I don't have to go around to the grocery stores anymore. But with that, we just got into Walmart, and I don't want to get kicked out. So I thought we got to pump it up, because I worked too hard just to let them go. There's no way.
What's been the challenge since the whole world got thrown this crazy curveball known as the pandemic?
Yeah, we were so excited because we got with a distributor that services the C stores at Indiana University, Ball State, Michigan, Ohio, some major big universities. And I was about to meet him, and then this happened, and they had to hold off on it. And he said, well, we'll do it in the fall. Hopefully everything will calm down. And when fall.
So this is like last February,
Yes,
and then they were looking towards this fall.
Yes. So I called him in the fall, and he said, we're going to have to hold off again. And that was huge for us also.
Yeah.
So we couldn't get into that. And I had already made a run for them.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, what am I going to do? Because it was the pizza sauce. So I just got it into the grocery stores because I didn't want to sit on product.
Sure. Yeah, no one can afford to sit on inventory at this point. What have you learned, and what's your advice to someone else in the same situation? Because this isn't really the first time you've gone through something like this. 9/11 hit, you closed down one business, which was a travel agency, you pivoted, and what would you tell someone else?
Like Alexa said, since last March, I worked 3 jobs to support my business. And I haven't went back to the other 2. I just been focusing on my business. But never give up. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel. Just move forward as much as you can.
Yeah. And that information is available at meaniesgourmetpastasauce.com. And they're out of Illinois, I believe, Evansville, Illinois area. And, they're in local retailers in their tri-state area, but they're also available. Their sauce is available for sale online. And the way I prefer to support people, whether it's a musician and I'm buying their music, or a product that I buy that you might be able to pick up on the shelves of a Walmart or a grocery store, I prefer to buy direct whenever I can. Why do you think that is, John?
Well, because the margins are always better, right? There's no middleman. You're going right to the
Exactly.
source. Yeah, absolutely.
So they're available at a lot of retailers, Walmart and some other places, but their e-commerce shop is on Etsy, where you can buy direct from them. It is a rather long, cumbersome link. So I created a link shortener. If you want to go support this awesome gourmet pasta sauce, and it's no more expensive than any of your other sauce that you've typically gotten, it's just a heck of a lot better. And you're supporting a family business. You can go to bru.news/meanies Mimi. That's bru.news /Mimi, which is spelled MIMI. And brew is spelled BRU, bru.news. That's my personal link shortener. And that'll redirect you right to their Etsy page. You can order there. I believe
Yep.
that, yeah.
It's working. I just put one in my cart and I have just ordered it.
Sweet and spicy gourmet pasta sauce. It's all natural. It's I just ordered a whole bunch of it, and I love the fact that it's run by a mother and a daughter, and the granddaughter, who's a college student, is working like heck to promote her mom and her grandmother's business and trying to help them make it through this pandemic. And she's using social media to do it. So Andrew retweeted her tweet and just said, let's all buy some. I'm gonna support them, and I encourage you to do the same. So when I saw that, not only did I go buy some, but I got to thinking, you know how Andrew created this fund for people who are hurting in the hospitality industry? Well, what I want to do is I want to do free shout outs for business owners who are hurting during this pandemic. And I also want to challenge my other podcasters that I know. So, we're going to try and create this ripple effect. John and Parker and I talked about this. We're going to create a ripple effect where we're going to challenge other podcasters who, we're not telling you to give a freebie out and, remove a paid sponsor to add a free shout out. You can add a free shout out wherever you want. You don't have a programming clock. This isn't traditional radio. Just add somebody to help them out. And, I think this is a great business to support. They've been around for over a decade, and I'd like to see them stick around. So,
and who doesn't need spaghetti sauce, right?
Yeah.
Everybody needs spaghetti sauce. You use it all the time.
Exactly.
So why not get spaghetti sauce from Help a Family instead of buying ragu?
You don't eat spaghetti? Okay, then what are you going to dip your mozzarella sticks in?
Exactly.
Marinara. Go buy some. Thank you.
Yeah, it's that easy. Simple, easy peasy. I just did it while we were live on the show. I've ordered some. It's coming to my house. Of course, my wife will wonder why do we have spaghetti sauce coming in the mail? It's because
blame it on me.
I blame it on Coach Brew.
Okay. So shout out to Mimi's Gourmet Pasta Sauce. You can go to bru.news /Mimi. It'll take you to their Etsy shop. And I encourage you to not only support them, but also help spread the word. And if you don't have money to spend on spaghetti sauce, do this. Just pay it forward and just spread the word. Share that information.
Absolutely. We'll put links in the show notes. You'll see those links and click on there, buy some spaghetti sauce and support this small business. And keep listening to this podcast because you're supporting our small business by doing it.
Exactly.
And maybe even if you're a P1 listener, then maybe we could even give away some of this spaghetti sauce.
There you go. It's easy to ship.
Yep. Perfect. So that's what I got for you.
Love it.
Where I'm admitting I made a mistake, and we should have been doing these shout outs, small business, supporting other small business for the last 16 weeks. I dropped the ball, and I'm willing to accept whatever retribution is coming my way if you guys want to punish me.
I can only think of one punishment, but that's usually for us when you wear your mankini, so we won't do that.
Yeah, we'll just let
it go.
Comments. Roast them in the comments, and we'll that'll be good enough.
And the show topic today, you are probably all chomping at the bit, wondering what this episode has in store for you. And today is all about X Factor. Well, before I tell you exactly what it's about, it's kind of like spaghetti and sauce, peanut butter and jelly.
Yes. Laverne
fish and chips. Laverne and
Shirley. Starsky and Parker.
Hutch.
What? I'm shocked.
Wow.
That was great.
He got a 70s television pop culture reference.
Wow, I'm really impressed.
Was there a remake of that show?
Oh, it could have been. I don't know.
That's the only reason he got it. He heard of the remake. He probably thinks the remake is the original.
I'm gonna look it up real quick and see if there is. Pretty sure.
I'm sure there is.
But we're talking about
we're talking about John,
collaborations.
we're talking about what?
collaborations, world-class X Factor collaborations.
Abso-freaking-lutely. And some of the best collaborations come from the most unlikely places.
Yes.
And sometimes those things completely revolutionize and change not just an entire industry, but several industries, as is the case with, and this is the part where Parker should cue up some like super suspenseful music or a drum roll sound effect. If you can't see, he's making the little drum roll sound effect hand gestures like he has, like he has drums in his hand. So in my case, the X Factor collaboration I want to share with you is from the music industry. Specifically, it's a mashup. It is a mashup that brought hip hop music into mainstream culture as it previously never was.
It's probably like the first mashup ever, right? Wasn't it? It's got to be one of the first ever.
Yeah, it's got to be. This is like, we're talking 1986.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Parker, you weren't even a little glimmer in your parents' eyes back in 86. John, where were you in 1986?
I was at engineering school.
I was 3 clicks south of Da Nang. I saw some stuff I can't even begin to share with you and the listeners, Brubaker.
No. I was in
You
Worcester.
weren't in Nam?
I was in Worcester, Mass. Studying engineering. Go to school? Worcester Polytech.
That's where my daughter wants to tour this spring. She's going to apply there.
Well, I can help her out. I know a lot about it.
Sweet. So in 86, you were at WPI.
Yes.
In 1986, I was a sophomore in high school at Mercersburg Academy.
Whoa,
and I liked 2 things. I liked peanut butter and I liked chocolate. But I never, ever thought to take my piece of Hershey bar and dip it into a scoop of peanut butter and eat it together. I liked 2 other things. I liked rap music and I liked rock and roll. But I never, ever thought I would say I like a hip hop band or hip hop artists performing with a rock band together until I heard Run DMC and Aerosmith perform Walk This Way in 1986. And that was the peanut butter and chocolate of the music industry.
That song blew me away the first time I ever heard it. It was something no one had ever heard before.
Yeah, and it hits you right away.
Yeah.
Like the opening sound of it is just like, whoa, it blows you back a bit. And what's really interesting about it is, besides the fact that it changed the course of music history, there's quite an interesting story behind it. The original version of Walk This Way was featured on Aerosmith's 3rd album, which is called Toys in the Attic. They recorded the album at a place called the Record Plant in New York City. They basically finished recording the album, except for one catchy backing track they had not yet written the lyrics for. So the band member and the producer took a break, got some fresh air. They're walking around Times Square, and basically they kind of burned a whole day. They went to the movies and saw a Mel Brooks movie, Young Frankenstein. Young Parker, you're too young to remember Young Frankenstein. But Igor meets Dr. Frankenstein and said to him, "Walk this way." And he was all hunched over, as Igor was, but Dr. Frankenstein then hunches over. So Aerosmith, and they're probably high as kites sitting in that movie theater, because drugs is kind of a common theme in their lives, but They thought that was hilarious. The whole young Frankenstein walking this way and taking him very literally instead of figuratively. Hey, come over here, walk this way. So anyway, that became the chorus of that song. And that's how that became the chorus of the song. And if you listen to it, it was really kind of like pre-rap rap, as is often referred to. It's got like hip hop sort of rhythm in a peculiar way. The way Steven Tyler, their lead singer, performed it. So anyway, Aerosmith was kind of, on the tail end of their career at that
Yeah, I
point.
was starting to. Yep.
They're fading. They're beyond the back nine, so to speak, as the saying goes. And I'm not really sure exactly who got credit for it, but the person that seems to get the most credit is famous kind of music super producer Rick Rubin. And Rubin was in New York City. He went to college at NYU and somehow had the idea of kind of melding together rock and rap and thought it would be a good idea, but just didn't know, who they should put Run DMC together with. And somebody suggested Aerosmith. And he said, I loved Aerosmith as a kid. I listened to them back in the 70s. And he's just thinking, like, I don't know if those guys would do that. I don't even know if I could get to them. And he certainly did actually get to them. And it turns out they really sort of needed Run DMC more than Run DMC needed them. Run DMC was on the rise, with their music. And so I think both groups got kind of coaxed into doing this. And, for the sake of visibility, exposure, it's going to expose your listeners or your brand to a new audience, and it's going to expose Aerosmith's brand to a new audience. So they go in studio and they show up on time. They're all ready to go. And Aerosmith's a little late. They're stepping in and out of the studio to get high and do drugs and stuff. And Run DMC is really like at that point kind of getting pissed off. Like, we're here to work and you guys are screwing around. You're not particularly sober. You're not taking this seriously. Like, are we going to do this or what? Or otherwise you're wasting our time. They're ready to walk. And Aerosmith quickly realized, like, these guys mean business. They're serious. And we actually need them more than they need us. So yeah, I guess we ought to get back in studio and knock this thing out. And as a result of that, it became just this huge thing that took on a life of its own and started really its popularity. It was like college radio initially, because kids tend to be and you listen, like today, they're really, people don't listen to albums. People don't have like a genre. They have all sorts of different genres, on their playlist. And that's kind of where college kids have always been. They like lots of different influences. So that's really where it got traction. And then it just sort of became mainstream from there. And it really exploded both brands. And that's the X factor business lesson is you can spend all your time competing, or you can spend your time collaborating.
Absolutely. I have a friend of mine, Jeff Aiken. He's got a podcast. But he talks about it a win-win-win situation where you win, your brand wins, that brand wins, but in this case it's a third thing wins, and that is you create an entire new genre of music and that didn't exist before. So there's a whole nother win there, is that there's now an industry for that. There's a customer base for that. So when you can create an X factor collaboration like this, you create this triple win scenario that is and it's just being an older guy and being around when that came out. I had never heard of Run DMC. I had heard of Aerosmith. I'd heard their music. I knew Walk This Way. But when I heard it done with Run DMC, it was one of those things like, oh, that's the way that song should have been from day one. It was, and now I can't listen to the old version. I can only listen to the Run DMC version of it because that seems to be the way to listen to that song.
even when I play the old version,
Yeah.
in my mind, I'm hearing the collaboration.
Right.
Like,
Right.
oh,
Exactly.
here's where, Run DMC pops in and Aerosmith fades out. And yeah, you can't not hear the collaboration once you've heard it. And yeah, Rick Rubin was actually producing Run DMC's third album, Raising Hell, at the time. And he wanted one song. He didn't want a whole album that would just kind of like sound so different that it would kind of disenfranchise their existing audience or be really like way off brand. He just wanted one track that would be so different it would expose them to new audience. And I think there's another lesson there. You don't want to completely change your core value proposition with what you're doing. You want to add strategically one new element, one new offering in your product suite, and see what the audience response is. See if that brings you new audience members.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
You
do
know,
it
when
with
you think,
someone else, collaborate with it. Yeah.
yeah, if you think about small businesses now, it's a tough time for small business. We've been talking about that, but is there an opportunity to collaborate with another small business in your area or in the market itself? Combining your product with another. You might be the best peanut butter company in the world. You might want to collaborate with the best jelly company in the world and create some sort of combination or collaboration. So,
You,
you know, open yourself up to these ideas.
fun fact, you know how much Aerosmith was paid to do this?
I don't know this answer. No.
$8,000.
Oh, geez.
$8,000 to go in the studio and do that.
Wow.
Well,
Wow.
it kind of
And once they got in the booth, Run DMC started ad-libbing and making their own lyrics. Like they weren't just singing straight off the lyrics to the original. Steven Tyler, I think, was the writer on it. But they added their own flair and their own style to it, which made it so much better.
Absolutely. And no, and
they
I
refer
understand.
to the original lyrics as hillbilly gibberish, country bumpkin bullshit, to quote Run of Run DMC.
And now, what I understand is when Aerosmith plays it live, they play more of the version that they did together than the original version because they like what came out of that. Love it.
It's almost kind of like if you fast forward to like the 2000s, early 2000s. In 2008, a massive song came out, really popular, and it's called "Numb Encore" by Jay-Z and Linkin Park.
Yep.
Have y'all heard that?
Yes.
Yeah, and like Jay-Z at the time was like he was blowing up, or he had been blown up for a while. He was big, and Linkin Park, early 2000s, really took off as well. So it was kind of like pretty similar.
There have been a couple really good ones like that. Like Nelly played or rapped on Cruise with Florida Georgia Line.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And again, that was the better version of the song too.
Absolutely. Ludacris partnered with Jason Aldean on Dirt Road Anthem.
Mm-hmm.
So you got country and rap and a couple different, artists partnering on that. You got rock and rap. What's the common denominator to all of these? It's rap. It's hip hop. Yeah. They tend to be on the leading edge of culture.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say something, and I don't mean to, I'm not getting political, but what I will say is I think that if you want to change culture or change the way people think, the way you can influence culture way more than policy with politics or government is through the arts. It's through music. It's through comedy. It's through theater.
Yep.
You wield way more cultural influence as an artist than you do as a politician.
100%.
As long as, we don't allow cancel culture to enter things or censorship. But you think about like the force of nature these guys were in shaping culture at that time in 1986.
Yep. Yeah.
What's your version of that going to be? Who are you going to collaborate with that's just totally wild and outside the box, and people are going to be like, you did what? Really? And it could be a huge hit for you.
Yeah. So
that's
look
my
outside.
Challenge for the audience.
Yeah, look outside your four walls. Who else is killing it that you can collaborate with that may be completely outside your industry? It could be outside of your, your competitor base. how can you collaborate with them and do something that'll change the world?
I'm thinking of doing a motivational speaking tour once the pandemic's over with Kanye.
Oh, beautiful. Maybe you could translate.
We're gonna. It's just gonna be called Jonye West. John Brubaker and Kanye West. It's just gonna be Jonye. Kind of like Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston were
Right.
Ben Affleck and Jennifer Aniston were Benifer. Jonye. Yeah, the two of us. He'll rap. I'll speak.
No, you'll need a
change
translator.
The world.
You'll need, yeah. That's awesome.
In the meanwhile, I'm sitting here with you, Jon Rennie.
Yeah.
I feel so blessed.
Well, and I feel the same. We're actually collaborating. This is actually an X Factor collaboration right here. Two business leaders, two authors decided to get together, and we combined it with the powers of the DFE.
And we couldn't be more different, could we?
Same first name.
Different spelling.
Yeah.
Very different spelling.
Yeah, very different.
Like, what do you do with all the time in your life that you save not using an H in your first name when you sign your name or type your name? What do you do with all that free time, John?
I write.
Right? That's impressive. I'm jealous. So, no, we are kind of like the odd couple. Oscar Madison and Felix Unger.
Yes. Another X Factor collaboration.
Another pop culture reference that Parker has no clue what we're talking about. Hold on, let me Google that.
Yeah, I have no idea.
John, what do you got for us? X Factor collaboration today.
Oh,
I'm getting kind of hungry. I need a snack.
You want a snack? We did snacks already. That was our last episode with snacks. But you know what?
I want candy.
You want candy?
Yeah, I want a candy snack.
Have you ever heard of this candy before? I'm gonna show it up here for those people on the YouTubes, on the brew tubes.
It's those people up there on the interwebs with the YouTubes. What do you got there? Reese's? What kind of Reese's is that?
That doesn't say feces. That says pieces. Reese's Pieces.
Them there Reese's feces. Oh my God.
Reese's Pieces. You ever heard of Reese's Pieces? You ever tried them before? They're pretty good.
Aren't they like M&M's ugly cousin?
They're exactly that. They're M&M's ugly cousins. And the thing is, like, no one had ever heard of this company.
No offense. I meant that in the best way possible. Reese's.
Well, maybe. Oh, I thought you were saying something about ugly cousins. Like, no offense to my ugly cousins. But that being said, so M&M's. Everybody knew about M&M's, right? Mars Candy Company, #1. It melts in your mouth, not in your hand. Everybody knows about M&M's, right? So get this. So back in 1982, some guy.
4 years before Run DMC and Aerosmith collaborated.
Exactly. We're sticking in the 80s here, guys. This guy named Steven Spielberg. Ever heard of Steven Spielberg? He decided he was going to make a movie, right? And at that point, he'd already made Jaws, and he made Close Encounters of the Third Kind, 2 blockbusters, right? And he was making this movie called E.T. the Extraterrestrial, not the Extra Testicle. Be careful there.
Did he have an extra testicle?
I don't know, and I don't want to find out. So he's gonna create this film, right? And so the people that produce the film, Amblin Productions.
Speaking of films, you know that there's you know how like there are porn films that their names are variations on actual movies. Like instead of Good Morning Vietnam, there's Good Moaning Vietnam.
I didn't know this
instead of Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
There's got to be alien porn that's E.T. the Extra Testicle. Parker, can you look that up on your Google Chrome incognito browser? Because you started this, Jon Rennie. You should know better. You said I'm like a squirrel on crack.
Well, you are.
So you should have known I was going to go down that road. You said it's not the E.T. the Extra Testicle, but you should have known that, like, if you said that, where my mind might go. Is there an adult film called The Extra Testicle?
I mean, I don't know why I looked this up. I don't know.
Because I asked you to, and you're doing your job.
I looked up extra testicle on private browser because I'm not looking up that stuff on the regular one. But it just came up with like a Healthline thing, like basically just saying how it's called polyorchidism.
We call that a win-win-win.
Wow. So,
But
Parker,
it says it's a very rare condition. Men with this condition are born with more than 2 testicles.
and I just went to imdb.com. It's called E3. The subtitle is The Extra Testicle. Here's the description of it.
Oh my.
Is the director is Ron Jeremy. It's written by Ron Jeremy. The stars are Bunny Blue, Lana Burner, Robin Cans, and then there's a full cast. Anyway, the extraterrestrial tale of an alien in constant orbital orgasmia. After a million years in space, E3 comes to Earth for a good time. Erotic sets and luscious girls highlight this science fiction comedy.
We're getting canceled.
We're,
Told you.
we're not going to talk about that
Told
today.
you there would be a movie that was a variation of that title. So
And
now
that's the X
please,
factor. That's the X factor part of it all, right there.
so John, as we digress, let's go back. You were talking about the movie E.T. and something had something to do with Reese's Pieces.
So, yeah. So Steven Spielberg, big name by this point, 2 blockbusters under his belt already. He's going to make this movie called E.T. the Extraterrestrial, right?
See, now I'm in your head. You almost said the other one.
I know, you got me going there. So the people who are producing the film, it's called Amblin Productions. They reached out because they had a scene where the main character is trying to get this, lovable alien out of this tool shed. And so he uses these little candies. He puts them out there and the alien's going to eat these candies. And so they had the idea, well, why don't we actually contact the M&M company, Mars company at the time that owned M&Ms, and let's see if we can do some sort of collaboration with them, right? This could be a win-win situation. So they reach out to, in this case, the Mars Corporation. And at the time, John and Forrest Mars were running the company, and they were notoriously cheap with their money. And they said, let's do this collaboration where we use M&Ms, and then you'll get brand recognition, and then it'll help our promote our movie. And they absolutely flatly said, no, there's no way we're going to do this for a couple of reasons. One is, they were cheap from what I can read on that. And the other thing is they didn't want there was a rumor that they didn't want their M&Ms associated with a movie about aliens because their product was Mars, I guess. I'm not
Your
really sure.
company's literally named after another planet that typically people associate with little green men who
Yes.
are, wait for it, freaking aliens.
Martians. Yeah. Why would you not want your brand associated with an alien?
Like
should be-
Marvin the Martian from Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
Earth creature, take me to your leader. Earth creature.
Yep. Exactly. So Mars and M&M said, nope, no way, we're not doing it. And so they said, well, what about Hershey? What do they have? And Hershey had just recently come out with, a few years earlier, they came out with Reese's Pieces, which was sort of a competitor to M&M's, kind of the same concept, candy shell, only this has got peanut butter instead of chocolate inside. And before they finished the pitch, the folks at Hershey said, yep, absolutely, we're doing it. Absolutely, we're doing this. And it was kind of interesting. What the deal was is that it wasn't that Hershey had to pay to have their product placement. It was is that Hershey agreed for 6 weeks prior to the film coming out, they would spend $1 million for ads for Reese's Pieces, but they would include E.T., the alien, and kind of talking about the movie. So they're actually promoting themselves together. Phone home. I'm seeing the finger. If you haven't seen the movie, you won't understand that one. So for 6 weeks,
talk about like getting someone else to pay for your advertising your film too,
essentially.
right?
So
yeah, it's like brilliant.
And it was a win for Hershey because again they were promoting not just the film but their brand, and the combination of these two things were even better than the brand itself or the movie itself. As it turns out, E.T. was a slam dunk, right? It was considered one of the greatest films of all time, right? It was actually the highest grossing film of all time, and it held that record for 11 years until it was finally surpassed by Jurassic Park, also directed by Steven Spielberg, by the way. So, so this thing was a slam dunk. It won 4 Oscars, and the result of that $1 million spent, Reese's Pieces became a global brand overnight. That product became well known. There's estimates up to 85 to 300% growth in sales of Reese's Pieces, brand recognition. And the marketing director at Reese's said that he thought that $1 million investment resulted in about $15 to $20 million worth of promotion for the brand. Because now when you see that movie, I'd never even heard of Reese's Pieces, and I was around during that time. And I remember seeing the movie and I like, my brain went, whoa, I love Reese's peanut butter cups. A Reese's Pieces must be amazing, and it must be even better than an M&M. But I never even knew it existed before. And I think it just really did a lot for the brand, and it grew the brand, and it was a major investment.
So I couldn't agree with you more. And is this the part where I get to react?
It is. I think the one thing I would just share is the idea of thinking outside the box in terms of how to, working with somebody, in this case, not in your industry. You're a candy company and a movie company approaches you. This is, and you bring it together and you get that win-win-win I was talking about. So it's a great example of that. Same thing with Run DMC and Aerosmith. So very similar story.
Incredibly. And I want to remind people, and this is where I wanted to go with it, John, we don't prep for the show together. Each episode, John brings an X Factor. We just decide on the topic.
Right.
X Factor collaborations, X Factor snacks, X Factor animals, X Factor bands. I don't find out what he's talking about until we turn the mics on and hit record. He doesn't find out what I'm talking about until we turn the mics on and hit record. It is amazing. If you go back, and this is a subtle plug for you going back, if you haven't heard previous episodes, go back and look at the similarities. And this is how you know these brands really are X Factor, because it's a lot of recurring themes within the episode between the two examples we give, which we were previously unaware of the other person's example until it happened. So that's the first thing I want to share. The second thing is, number one, Mars, scared money don't make money.
Exactly.
You cheapskates.
Exactly.
No offense. I mean that in the best way possible, you cheapskates. And if you want to sponsor the X Factor podcast, we would not be averse to nut M&Ms. But what we wouldn't want are peanut butter M&Ms. Because an interesting thing happened after Reese's Pieces became, this global phenomenon as a result of the movie E.T. Magically, M&Ms started making peanut butter M&Ms.
Yep.
But you know what? Don't taste anywhere near as good as Reese's Pieces.
They suck, actually. So
cheapskate copycats.
Yeah, that's it. So
no offense, I mean that in the best way possible.
Yeah, I just think it's kind of a cool story. Again, if they put a brand on, in a movie. Now, of course, product placement is kind of popular, but back then it was really kind of an early adopter of this kind of idea. And actually, it's considered by, I read one marketing website said it's considered one of the top 10 movie product placement successes in the history of movies. By the way, it's number 3 on the list. Let me tell you who number 1 was Barbasol in Jurassic Park. Do you remember they hid the DNA samples in the Barbasol can? That they consider that number 1. Of course, the movie was a blockbuster.
I think Barbasol was a household name.
I think so.
Before that, it just kind of helped them gain more market share. It wasn't like that didn't make or break them. It just
but it really helped their brand, brand recognition. And then Wilson, the volleyball in Castaway, obviously that's a pretty good placement right there.
But what did that do for Wilson volleyball sales? Did people really say, I want to get a Wilson volleyball and paint a face on it because I'm lonely? Maybe during the quarantine, but I think it probably did more for Reese's Pieces and Hershey. than those
I think
others.
so too, because it's something that I associate with that movie. Because I remember it's the first time I've ever heard of that candy before. So
Yeah. So what's cool about this is I think that as big as Spielberg's Close Encounters was, this movie really cemented his legacy.
yeah,
And I would argue there might be no Jurassic Park if not for the success of E.T.
yeah, absolutely.
That allowed him to take some bigger chances with even more special effects. It wasn't just one alien; it was all these like think about the money they had to lay out and invest for that. If not for the success of ET, you might not have Jurassic Park.
Yeah, yeah,
It might be a very
absolutely.
different conversation. The other thing I might add regarding ET, I think Reese's Pieces, personally, in my opinion, are the third best part of the movie ET. Right behind the whole kind of flying in front of the moon where he's pedaling his bike in front of the moon scene,
Yeah, yeah.
which is second. And number one is the part where Drew Barrymore's character calls her brother penis breath.
Yes, yeah. It is funny when you go back and watch 80s movies. It was gratuitous swearing just to try to,
Yep.
I don't know. It's not a inappropriate swearing, like in places it didn't belong. Yeah, yeah. 80s movies are famous for that, and also nudity, random nudity for no reason whatsoever.
You just described like every Nicole Kidman film.
Yeah, I was just thinking of Slapshot.
I don't think there's a Nicole Kidman film where you don't see her naked. But anyway,
Could be. But yeah, I was just thinking of Slapshot. I watched that the other day, and it was a whole scene. It was almost a 3-minute scene with Paul Newman talking to a woman with her shirt off, and I'm thinking, but why?
there's no attention span for that today. 3 minutes,
Yeah,
people would be
yeah,
you've lost them. Like
right.
the famous drum beat in that Phil Collins song "In the Air Tonight."
Yeah, yeah,
That's like 2 minutes into the song they drop that beat.
yeah. Nobody's
And
got
it's that song put Phil Collins on the map. He had a successful band before that, but that song, and in particular, dropping that beat,
yeah,
really kind of took him to a whole other level. But today, you couldn't get people to listen to that song for the first time for 2 minutes in order to get to that.
yeah. We have a short attention span.
You need that in the first few seconds, or the first chorus or whatever. Like,
Yep.
you could never see that today.
A fun fact, by the way, have you ever heard that drum solo beat? They've got all these videos where people are tripping and falling, and deer getting stuck through a play set. And I don't know if you've ever seen those before.
I have not.
And that's the soundtrack, and it's usually someone tripping and falling, and it's that. Yeah. So that's a great X Factor collaboration right there.
Yeah. So, that's almost as great as say like the X Factor podcast and Bottom Gun Coffee.
There you go.
Or the X Factor podcast and Mimi's Gourmet Pasta Sauce.
It's a great combination. Powerful.
Which is available at bru.news/Mimi. And if you would like your business, if your business is in a difficult position due to the pandemic and forces outside of your control, and you'd like to email the show, the X Factor Podcast at gmail.com, send us an email and just let us know, what you're going through, and if we can feature you on the podcast, we're happy to do that. We are small business supporting other small businesses. There's no strings attached. We're not going to try to hit you up for paid advertising later. This is John and I are often referred to as great humanitarians. And that's probably the second most popular description that a number of people have for us, behind the first most popular description that a number of people have for us, which is global icons.
Yes, global icons.
Yes.
I like all of them.
And when I say number of people, that number could be one, which it could be Parker. It could be tens of people. Who knows how many people? But we are great humanitarians. We're not. We don't have any strings attached. We're not trying to just make people pity cases or charity cases or just give a handout. we're trying to give a hand up. You know, it's no different than someone talking about our books on their podcast.
Right.
You know, we're just trying small business, helping small business. And, you know, if you're a frequent listener to the show, maybe you're a business owner and you'd like to write in about it, go for it. Love to hear what you're going through.
Especially those, small bourbon companies that might be struggling right now. We're here to help.
We're here to help, and we could do reaction videos where we're sipping your bourbon in every single episode of the show and tasting it, and then our eyes light up. You know, you see confetti fly out of a confetti cannon in the background behind us. You know, sound effects, fireworks, applause. What else, John?
That's good. Kangaroos hopping around.
People in tuxedo t-shirts sipping bourbon with us, smiling. They had a frown on their face until they sipped and tasted your bourbon. Then their life got exponentially better. Wouldn't you want that for our listeners? So shout out to bourbon companies if you're looking for, a sponsor. We do great things. And like I said, or like Parker said, we're global icons and great humanitarians.
Bingo.
And what do we want people to do, John? We got to put a lid on this bad boy, don't we?
Yeah. So thank you for listening to the X Factor podcast. If you like this podcast, please subscribe down below. If you're on YouTube, you want to subscribe on your favorite podcast app. You want to like it. You want to share it. You want to tell your friends about it. We talked about it in one of our episodes that the power of voice to voice, to word of mouth communication. Tell your friends about this. Say this about this crazy crazy podcast it's about business, about leadership, but it's also about having a little bit of fun.
I'm the normal one. He's the crazy one.
Okay.
I'm the voice of reason.
We'll let the listeners make the judgment.
Yeah. So go there, do that. Leave us a voicemail, and we're highly caffeinated right now thanks to our friends at Bottom Gun Coffee Company. Check them out at bottomguncoffee.com. And you know what pairs really well with coffee?
What's that?
Pasta sauce.
Yes.
Mimi's Gourmet Pasta Sauce. Check them out. Shout out to Alexis Wheeler at Mimi's Gourmet Pasta Sauce. And the easy link to find them be in the show notes. It's also bru.news/Mimi. That's the show.
That's it. Take care.
Thank you.